If you live in St. John's, Florida with your dog, you already know that having a well-behaved pup just makes everything better. So in this explainer, we're going to walk through how to find the perfect local trainer for you and your best friend. I mean, that's the dream, right? Those really nice, peaceful walks along Julington Creek, or being able to go to a weekend market and just have your dog be calm and happy. Getting there all starts with finding the right training partner. Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about what it means to be a good dog neighbor here in St. John's. Then we'll get into what to look for in a trainer, their philosophy, and their credentials. After that, we'll cover the different kinds of programs and what they cost, look at local rules, and then wrap up with a checklist for you before you hire anyone. So let's start with being a good neighbor. You know, in a place like St. John's where community is so important, having a well-behaved dog isn't just about making your own life easier, it really helps make the whole neighborhood a better place to be. And you can really see this in day-to-day life. It's about being able to walk down County Road 210 without your dog going nuts at every person or dog you pass. Or it's about being at a busy event, maybe at the agricultural center, and knowing your dog can handle it calmly. That's what good training does. It makes life pleasant for everyone.
All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of what actually makes a good trainer. We're going to start with their training philosophy and their qualifications, because these are absolutely key. The gold standard in dog training today is what's called positive reinforcement. Basically, it just means you reward the behaviors you want to see. It's so much more than just teaching sit or stay. It's really about building a relationship with your dog that's based on trust. And on the other side of that coin, if you hear a trainer talking about using harsh corrections, intimidation, stuff like that, that is a huge red flag. Honestly, those methods are just outdated, and they can actually make things worse by creating fear or even aggression. Now, something you should know is that Florida doesn't actually require trainers to be licensed. That's why certifications are so telling. They show that a trainer is serious about their education. Look for ones like these. A CPDTK means they've passed a big test on training knowledge. KPACTP means they specialize in positive reinforcement. And a CDBC is for trainers who handle more serious behavior issues. Okay, let's talk about the different kinds of training programs out there. The real goal here is to find the one that's the perfect match for your dog, your goals, and of course, your budget. The two most common options you'll see are group classes and private lessons. Group classes are awesome for socialization and for teaching your dog to listen even when there are other dogs and people around. But private lessons are your best bet if you need to work on a really specific issue and want that one-on-one focus.
You might also run into in-home training versus a board and train. In-home training is fantastic because the trainer comes to you and helps you solve problems right where they happen, like all that barking at the front door. Board and trains is much more intensive, but remember, for it to really stick, you have to be super involved when your dog comes home.
So what can you expect to pay around here? This table gives you a pretty good ballpark. A typical 6-week puppy class might be around $200. A single private lesson usually lands around $125. The bigger programs, like a board and train, are obviously a much bigger investment, but seeing the numbers helps you plan. All right, let's bring it right back home to St. John's. Knowing the local rules and the best spots to go can really help you succeed with your training. Take a look at this number, 6 feet. Seems kind of random, doesn't it? But trust me, this is one of the most important numbers for any dog owner in our county to know. And here's why. The St. Johns County Ordinance says that whenever your dog is off your property, they have to be on a leash that's 6 feet or shorter. That's a huge safety rule, and it's exactly why teaching your dog to walk nicely on a leash is so important here. So besides the leash law, there are a couple of other local things to keep in mind. The rabies tag on the collar, that's mandatory. But here's some good news. You don't need a separate county dog license. Also, just be aware that nonstop barking can actually be a nuisance violation, which is another area where a good trainer can really help. So once you start training, where can you go to practice all these new skills? Well, we have some fantastic spots. Treaty Park is perfect for working on recalls since it's all fenced in. The trails over at Alpine Groves Park are amazing for practicing that polite leash walking. And for some safe, controlled socializing, the Nocatee barking lot is a great option. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. So now we're at the final step, the part where you actually pick up the phone and start talking to some potential trainers. When you have that first chat, you want to be ready. Use this checklist. Ask them straight up about their training philosophy. Double-check their certifications. Be super clear about what you want to achieve and ask them how you'll both know if you're making progress. And of course, get a complete, clear breakdown of every single cost involved.
So, you've done all the research, you're ready to ask all the right questions, but let's just pause for a second. What's this really all for? What's the actual goal here?
Because at the end of the day, investing in training isn't just about stopping your dog from jumping on people or pulling on the leash. It's about opening up this whole new world of things you can do and experience together.
We really wish you the best in finding the right training partner for your journey. Because with that right person helping you, you can look forward to so many good things. More of those relaxed walks at Alpine Groves Park, welcoming friends over without any stress, and most importantly, building an even stronger, more wonderful bond with your dog that's going to last a lifetime.